Hello there, this is Alex. On this video, I'm gonna talk about divorce and remarriage issues. First, I'm gonna ask you to be patient with my speech because my English is pretty broken and it's not my first language. So even in my first language, I have this difficult sometimes to speak. Much more I have to speak in another language. So, but don't stop the video or watch to the end if you're gonna stop, but finish to watch later because I have something very important to show you. And this is just based on my studies. Okay, I'm not representing any church or religion. Okay, just following the scripture, just following Jesus. Okay, so I have four main points to study here about this topic on Matthew 19, on Mark 10. Okay, first point is about divorce versus putting away. Okay, the second we're gonna be the words ἀπολύσαι, the Greek words ἀπολύσαι versus ἀπολύσαι. Okay, and the second point is gonna be about the word permitted or suffered that can be also entrusted. And we're gonna find out also the word precepts related to this. And finally, the fourth part of this video are gonna be about the law versus what you have heard, what have been said, is what Jesus rebuked. Also, the law versus what Jesus rebuked. So let's go. First part. Divorce versus putting away. So divorce is one thing, and putting away is another thing. The versions that translated putting away, which in Greek is ἀπολοῦσαι, this version that translated this word as divorcement is a wrong translation. Okay, so I have it here. I'm gonna show you a parallel real quickly here. Matthew 19, verse 7. On the King James Version, it says, they say to him, why did Moses then command to give a writing of divorce and to put her away? Look at that verse, for example, on verse 7 of the New International Version says, then why then they asked, did Moses command a man to give his wife? Why then, they asked, did Moses command that a man give his wife a certificate of divorce and send her away? So here's the word send her away or put her away. So here they translated the International Version, send her away is the word ἀπολοῦσαι. It's actually a branch of the word ἀπολοῦσαι, but the point here I wanna show you is that right before, for example, on verse 3, the International Version translated this word ἀπολοῦσαι as divorce. It is lawful for a man to divorce, while the King James Version translated correctly as put away, verse 3. But see, on verse 7, they basically, if they translated the word ἀπολοῦσαι as divorce, it would result in a pretty ugly translation, because they would have to put two words of divorce in sequence, would become a pretty ugly translation. So would be, so is incorrect. What I'm showing here is they are not coherent. So, but because here, how it would be, why then they ask, Jesus, Moses command that a man give a wife a certificate of divorce and divorce her, you know. But verse 3, they translated this word as divorcement. Okay, so basically, ἀπολύσαι has multiple meanings, and it can mean send away, put away, abandon, dismiss, release, set aside, pardon someone's debt, let or set a prisoner free, and even more meanings, but it's enough. And apostasia, divorcement, it simply means the end of a marriage. Okay, it's not complicated. And even more, I'm gonna show you here, the dictionary here, the Bible Hub, says the definition, the first definition for ἀπολύσαι, for putting away, is to set free, to release. However, the usage, some may use as divorcement, but it's not the right definition. They use it as a divorce, but it's not the right definition. So this is very important, because first of all, Jesus never rebuked the divorcement, but the putting away, the wrong putting away. So again, to conclude this first part, divorcement is the end of a marriage. Putting away in the context of marriage, because putting away, the word is used in many different situations. I'm gonna give you a couple of examples here. So putting away in the context of marriage was a separation only, a kind of separation. It didn't end the marriage, simple as that. Putting away, the ἀπολύσαι didn't end the marriage. Divorce, the bill of divorce, yes. So we cannot translate this word ἀπολύσαι as divorcement. Never. I'm gonna give here a couple of examples. Matthew chapter 15 verse 32. Then Jesus called his disciples to him and say, I have compassion on the multitude. Here is just an example of the word ἀπολύσαι, the putting away. They continue with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat, and I will not send them away fasting. So here's the word ἀπολύσαι, cannot be translated as divorcement, is sending away, dismissing. Another example is Luke chapter 23 verse 20. It says, Pilate, therefore, willing to release Jesus, spoke again to them. So Pilate was not willing to divorce Jesus, but to release. So ἀπολύσαι, putting away, never means divorcement. There is a word for divorce, which was apostasia. Okay, so part 2, ἀπολύσαι versus ἀπολύσῃ. As I said, ἀπολύσαι has multiple forms and multiple meanings, but never meaning divorce. But it was included in the precept of Deuteronomy chapter 24. It was included because, of course, in that time, the man should give the certificate of divorce and send the woman away. So, but the putting away in that context with the letter of divorce was ἀπολύσαι. And it, of course, meaning that she was free to go and to marry someone else. She was completely free with no ties anymore with her previous husband. She has no charge, was free to go as an innocent, and with the certificate of divorce. So the putting away in this situation, after giving the letter of divorcement, was ἀπολύσαι. And the putting away Jesus condemned, rebuked, was the ἀπολύσαι. So here's the trick thing. Because the problem starts there in Matthew chapter 5. I'm gonna read it soon. But here, just to show you, I'm gonna show you here Matthew chapter 19, verse 8. It says, Jesus replied, Moses permitted you to divorce your wives because of your hearts were hard. This is the international version. Here, the King James Version. Chapter 19, verse 8. He said to them, Moses, because of the hardness of your hearts, suffered you to put away your wives. So here, the put away is ἀπολύσαι. Then, verse 9, Jesus says, and I say to you, whoever shall put away. But this put away here, as you see here, is not ἀπολύσαι, it's ἀπολύσαι. Okay, so basically the difference, you actually don't need to go forward and understand the meaning, but you can just see that this is something else. One thing, one putting away is ἀπολύσαι in the commandment of God, and other putting away is the ἀπολύσαι, which is what this is rebuked and condemned, because the ἀπολύσαι wasn't accompanied with the bill of divorce. So it basically, but for a better understanding, basically the ἀπολύσαι, the marriage context, was accompanied with the biblon, the bill of apostasio, of divorcement. Its meaning was sending away, dismissed, with no more ties, no charge, no obligations, and as an innocent. On the other side, the putting away ἀπολύσαι was a dismiss, a sending away, but still with ties, or not as an innocent, not free to marry again, without the bill of divorce. Okay, so here, this is very important. So see the difference? The putting away included in the precept God gave through Moses in Deuteronomy chapter 24 was ἀπολύσαι, and the putting away condemned and rebuked by Jesus was ἀπολύσαι, something different. So now, third part, we have here permitted can be also means entrusted. So when Jesus said, Moses permitted, here you have the dictionary saying, you have here the dictionary say that this word, it means to turn to entrust, and to permit. And not only the dictionary, But you see also here, for example, in Mark chapter 10, this word, the sentence Jesus says, verse 5, it says, "And Jesus answered and said to them, for the hardness of your heart, he wrote you these precepts." So here, Jesus says it's a precept. And there, the word in Matthew is permit, but permit that also can be understood, can be understood as entrust or charge. I don't know how come people would understand and think that a precept of God would mean something, a permission to sin or to do something wrong. No. How people would think that God would conniving with a sinful practice? No, never. The commandment, the precept, actually was to correct a sinful practice because of the hardness of your heart. So to correct the heart hardness at that God gave that precept, because they were just sending the wives away without the bill of divorce, without means to survive. So the woman just was with no means to survive, so she would go and marry another man without the legal paper. So she was committing adultery, and the man same thing while getting another woman. Or another case, she would be a prostitute. So it was a very hard situation for her. And it was to correct this that God gave through Moses that commandment. Okay, so this is very important to understand. So again, this word suffered or permitted can be translated as the dictionary says, as entrust. And as we see the scripture, it used simultaneously permitted, entrusted, or the word precept, commandment. Because here in Mark, there in Matthew chapter 19, Jesus said permitted, and the Pharisees said commandment. Here in Mark, the Pharisees said permitted, suffered, and Jesus says a precept, a commandment. So is a commandment, is a precept, is an entrust. Now let's go to the fourth part. Finally, we have here another point that's gonna help you to understand a lot. I made a video in another channel, my first language, especially about Matthew chapter 5, because people confuse there, thinking that Jesus was correcting the law or giving another law or strengthening the law, but it's not the case. But now let's focus on the verse 31 and 32, and let's compare with Deuteronomy chapter 24. Look at this. Matthew chapter 5 verse 31, it has been said. So see, it has been said, or you have heard. Jesus is not talking about something writing, but something said. something that you heard, you hear. And whoever shall put away his wife, let him give her writing of divorce. So, is this the commandment of God? No, it's different, because the commandment of God says to give the bill of divorce, then send away. But here Jesus was pointing that the teaching, what the people were saying, hearing, what people were hearing was whoever put away, then give a certificate of divorce. But no, the commandment, the precept was to give the certificate of divorce, then send away. And here in verse 32 says, but I say to you that whoever put away his wife. So here, this put away is the ἀπολύσαι. Is the same ἀπολύσαι word that Jesus uses in Mark chapter 10 and Matthew chapter 19, rebuking. So here is where the problem starts, and because of this, that the Pharisees came to him to tempt him, because Jesus had rebuked them before. So Jesus rebuked the ἀπολύσαι, while in the commandment instructed to ἀπολύσαι after the bill of divorce. So the teaching, the Pharisees' teachings, was upside down. All the corrections here in chapter 5 of Matthew is not against the law or correcting the law. The fulfillment Jesus giving here is in contrast with Pharisees' teachings. And there are other indications, not only because you see the commandment, the teaching upside down, not only because you see here it's not talking about something writing, but something that has been said. Other indications that all the scripture Jesus points that the Pharisees didn't practice were hypocrites. And Jesus also says, verse 18, 19 of this chapter 5 of Matthew, Jesus says that if our righteousness should surpass the righteousness of the Pharisees, not the righteousness of the law, but the righteousness of the Pharisees. So the problem wasn't the law, but their teachings and practice that were not according to the law. And here, I'm gonna read here for you to see. Let's hear Deuteronomy chapter 24, here, verse 1. Let's see. When a man has taken a wife and married her, and it's come to pass that she find no favor in his eyes, because he has found some uncleanness in her. So about this, I made a video last year, and I'm gonna give you the link for you, because here the commandment is not specifying some causes that you are allowed to divorce. No, it's just giving some examples. And you can see also verse 4, for example, is another example. Just putting a situation that may happen. It's not putting a cause that you are allowed to divorce. This idea was created by Pharisees. So I'm gonna give you the video here in the first comment for you to watch, where I only talk about this chapter. So here, verse 4, her former husband, which sent, verse 3, and if the later husband hate her, so here another example, hate her, while for the first husband is other example. So just giving some examples. But let's get to the point comparing the commandments. So here, verse 1, so then let him write a bill of divorce and give it in her hand and send her out of his house. So here, see, first give the bill of divorce, then send her away. And as we saw there in Matthew chapter 19 and Mark chapter 10, this sending away was the ἀπολύσαι, because it means she was free, with no charge, no ties, because she had the bill of divorcement. While you see here Matthew chapter 5, the teachings where whoever put away, then give a certificate of divorce. So upside down. And what Jesus correct here on verse 32 is the ἀπολύσαι, same thing that he corrects on chapter 19 and Mark chapter 10. So as we see, totally different teaching of the Pharisees' teachings versus the law, which was intended to correct sinful practice, wrong practice, and wrong teachings. And Pharisees, of course, were not teaching people right. So, and were not practicing the law of God, the commandments of God. You can see is in the all gospel is about Jesus conflicting with the Pharisees, not with the commandments of God, not with the law. So may God bless you, keep the faith. And also, as you can see here, chapter 5 of Matthew is conflict. Jesus is rebuking very hard, and especially chapter 19 of Matthew and chapter 10 of Mark is a conflict conversation. You have to have this in mind also. So the fourth point here, putting away is not a divorcement. It's different. The word suffered can also means interest. APOLYSAI was included in the commandment of God. However, what Jesus rebuked was the ἀπολύσαι. And finally, what the law says is one thing, what the Pharisees thought was another thing, and what Jesus rebuked was another thing different of the law. I mean, the law was one thing, what Jesus rebuked was another thing. What Jesus rebuked was the Pharisees' teachings and practice. So may God bless you, keep the faith, keep studying the scripture. If you didn't understand something, go play the video again, asking me the questions here in the comment section. And I ask you to subscribe to receive next videos. May God bless you and keep the faith. Goodbye.